My name is Matthew Cole. I'm the head of the Fuel Bank Foundation, a national fuel poverty charity, and I'm also chair of the Scottish Government's Fuel Poverty Advisory Panel. The Fuel Bank Foundation will support low-income households who prepaid for their energy through a top-up meter, and to date we've supported around 650,000 people. And these are people who are already struggling. Their need has been verified by somebody local. That could be a housing officer or a nurse or an advice agency based in the community or a food bank. Now, for those people who prepay in particular via a top-up meter in the hallway, you've got to have the money you need in your pocket at the moment at which you need it. And so people who prepay are typically on lower incomes. They're the folk who absolutely are being impacted more by the cost of living squeeze. So fuel poverty is two things. It's a thing you can just feel. It's when you're living in a home which is really cold and it kind of feels damp and it's not pleasant. And there's a technical definition of fuel poverty too. It's when people typically spend more than 10% of their household income on keeping warm. It's when people have a building which has low levels of energy efficiency and high levels of cost to keep the building warm. It's really tough. And you're starting from a position which is 2 steps backwards before you start your day. People don't really buy electricity and gas. They're buying the heat and the light and the power they need to live a normal, standard, everyday life. And that heat and light and power gives them the hot water to have a shower in the morning, and it gives them the electricity they need for their Wi-Fi routers to work. So there are 4 drivers of fuel poverty. First is household income. People with a lower household income are more likely to be in fuel poverty. The second driver of fuel poverty is the efficiency of a home. A leaky home with gaps around windows or poor insulation costs more to heat. More expensive energy can push more people into fuel poverty without anything else changing. And the fourth driver of fuel poverty occurs when people's household is filled with appliances which are really energy inefficient. And all those things added together result in people having to spend more money than they need to just to keep warm, just the basics. Fuel poverty can destroy lives, it destroys opportunities, and it destroys people's hope. Because when people live in fuel poverty, they're more likely to be surviving day to day rather than making longer term choices about what's right for them and their family. They try to do as much as they can to mitigate it. Things like they ration how often they have a shower, how often they do laundry, or they limit hot meals. And we see this repeatedly. Parents living on 1 meal a day so they can try to keep maybe a room warm for their kids to be in. I was talking to a lady. Her concern was that her grandkids would say they didn't want to go to her house anymore because it was too cold. So she budgeted for her electricity to always be on, for the gas boiler to be firing on the days when the grandkids were coming. And so the poverty was hidden. But then she had to make some really strange choices. She would only buy food which was long life. There's no point in buying fresh stuff because it'll go off, because the fridge will be switched off for so many days. We've seen a move from keeping a house warm to keeping an individual warm. So we see a lot of older people sitting with an electric blanket in bed. So knowing that you're trapped on this bed, because that's the only way you can keep warm, isn't great for people's mental well-being. It also leads to some physical issues too around mobility. Those are kind of the impacts people face when they live with fuel poverty. They're trying to make life as normal as possible, but actually it's not normal. It's really important that social landlords are doing whatever they can to encourage their tenants to speak to their energy company, because there is sometimes additional support which is available. Second thing is that landlords need to look at their housing stock. Are there any basic measures we can introduce to reduce the energy intensity? So are there gaps around windows, around doors, which could be filled really simply? Are there low energy light bulbs which could be provided? And the third thing that social landlords can do is ensure there's support available. So if people are on a low income, it's really important to identify those people, because the consequence of not doing this is that people's lives go downhill very quickly.